Okay.
violence case against my husband, and I have 8 children that were interviewed by DCFS at a park. They interviewed us, and she said, I don't see why the kids can't be with you. We know that Dad's the problem. And all she did was to give me a piece of paper that said, make sure that you follow through with the restraining order and you don't have any contact with Dad. So I didn't.
Take another call.
Yes, we have Margarita from California. Margarita, do you have a question to ask or a story to tell?
I have both. I have a domestic violence case against my husband, and I have 8 children that were interviewed by DCFS at a park. They interviewed us, and she said, I don't see why the kids can't be with you. We know that Dad's the problem. And all she did was to give me a piece of paper that said, make sure that you follow through with the restraining order and you don't have any contact with Dad. So I didn't, and we're homeless at the moment. And time went on, about actually less than a week. She was trying to come into the place that we were staying, which was an industrial area. So I had to take everything out because I had the city and the landlord trying to evict me before she was able to come. I then told her that I was on my way to Las Vegas to hopefully find a permanent place for my children. And she said, well, I'm not sure if that's going to be okay. Let me call my supervisor and I'll give you a call back. A few days went by. She didn't give me a call back. And then I received a text saying that I have a order of removal. And if I don't turn in the children within 72 hours, that she was going to put in a arrest warrant out for me. She also filed with the police department 8 missing children. And when I called her, I asked her, why would you try to take the kids away from me? Because we're the victims. And she said, well, because I didn't hear back from the DA when I called her 3 times, and the DA didn't call back, and you weren't communicating. And I said, I have texts and calls of all the times that we have talked and spoken and try to figure out where I'm going to go. And I said, and when I called you and told you that I was going to Las Vegas, you didn't tell me you can't go out of state. You didn't tell me you have to come back. I said, I would have came back if you would have told me that. Well, I got the DA of my husband's domestic violence case to email her supervisor, letting them know that I've been cooperating the whole time. The detective also called her and said, no, at any point was she not cooperative. She's been cooperating and we've been communicating. Can you please drop the missing children's case? She said, no, that's part of our procedure. We're going to have all 8 children as missing until she turns them in. They made us get 2 B&Bs because my parents can't take the kids into my sister's house. So I had to get 2 different B&Bs, one for the 6 girls and one for the 2 boys. They now are telling me that I have a hearing on Wednesday, but at first they said, yeah, we want the kids to stay with you. We don't have a problem with you. We just want to make sure that Dad's not around. And I said, well, I don't even know where he's at. My attorney for the divorce can't even find him. And she said, well, it was a concern because I hadn't communicated with you. And I said, we're talking all the time. So I don't understand where she keeps saying that we're not communicating. Now I just don't know what happens at the hearing. Am I going to be able to get my kids back by that time? I don't understand why they were taken in the first place.
Well, you haven't gotten any paperwork from the social worker explaining why they were taken, did you?
No, I haven't. I just have the order of the removal.
And where are the children right now?
They're with my mom. The girls are with my mom at one of the Airbnbs, and my dad is with the 2 boys at another Airbnb. Supposedly, I couldn't put them all in one home because there were too many kids.
Does the social worker know that they're with your parents?
Yes.
Okay.
So I turned them in on Friday, and she said, okay, this will work for now.
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to YouTube, look up my channel, and I have a couple videos that explain the first hearing. It's called the detention hearing here in California. All right.
Okay.
And you might come across a link that you can get a free copy of my book, a PDF or a digital copy. And there's a whole chapter in there about what happens at the detention hearing. But to give you a short answer, yes, you can get your children back. That doesn't mean that you will, and it depends on what evidence they're trying to use against you. It sounds like, I haven't seen anything, but it sounds like they may have made some misrepresentations to the judge about, issuing the warrant for your children. And misrepresentations come in the form of affirmative, statements that are not true. And they also come in the form of omissions. They leave something out that they should have told the judge, which they knew, because it might have changed the judge's mind about trying to detain the children.
Right. And I wasn't the problem in the first place. I'm also almost 7 months pregnant. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't have a criminal record. She interviewed the children, and all the children said, no, my mom doesn't even spank us. There's no problem with my mom. And when she left after the interview, she said, yeah, the kids are fine with you. There's no problem. But somewhere along the line, I guess she just started disliking me because I'm not even sure why. She even told me on Friday, she says, I think at one point we got on a bad foot. Because I asked her to change workers. And she said, I think at some point we got on a bad foot, but I just take notes and I just give them to the judge. And I said, but it's not my fault that the DA didn't call you back to let you know about my husband's case. I said, that's your job, that's not mine. And she said, well, it's also your job to constantly call us and let us know exactly where you are. And I said, I told you I was going to Las Vegas. You didn't ask me for a hotel. You didn't ask me, anything specific. You just said, I'll give you a call back, which she never did.
So when is your court date?
It's on Wednesday.
Okay, that will be your very first hearing. So
yes.
Let me tell you this. You are entitled to have, if you have an argument, if your attorneys argue to get the child back to you, and the judge, decides not to, you have a right for what they call, they used to call it a Dennis H. hearing, but it's really a contested detention hearing, and you can have that within, I think it's 1 or 2 or 3 days. And some judges at these hearings will let you call witnesses, and if you brought the detective in or the DA in, to testify, that might go a long way to discrediting the social worker, right?
The DA actually sent an email to the supervisor and to myself, so I had a copy letting her know that I've been cooperating the whole time.
Yeah, but I can bet you $1 that email didn't get shown to the judge who issued the warrant for you.
No, not at all.
Right. So that's why I told you that there is sometimes, I call it fraud by omission. The social worker should have told the judge, look, I got this from the DA, right? And it shows that you're cooperating. And then the judge who issued the warrant probably would have said or could have said, I'm not issuing a warrant, the lady's cooperating. What the hell are you talking about? Right? As a matter of fact, after this case is over, I wish you would call me. You might have a civil rights action against the county and the, I won't mention the county, but against the county and the social workers.
They were trying to make it as difficult as possible for me to even get my children placed with my parents. I asked them if I could put them in a hotel since I don't have a home, and they said, no, it can't be a hotel, and it has to be at least 3 bedrooms for the girls and at least 1 bedroom for the boys. It was like a laundry list of things that I guess they were hoping I couldn't complete.
Right. And
and when I did complete them, she was kind of shocked.
Right. And who could have completed that if they don't have the financial assistance of a family member? Who can do that?
And I believe she thought because we were homeless that I didn't have the money, but I had saved enough money to try to get away from my husband in the first place. Now I've depleted all that money and spent it on just trying to keep my kids.
Right.
But now I have another question. If I do get my kids back, when I do get my kids back, will I be able to leave state?
Will you be able to leave the state of California?
Yes.
The answer is, in my opinion, you should be, But that's up to the judge. The judge that's assigned to your case. So you don't even know who the judge is going, which judge is going to be assigned to your case. If you're in unless you're in a really small county, and from looking at the call board, you're in California, but I don't think you're in a small county. So you don't even know. Yeah, so Los Angeles County. So you don't even know who the judge is going to be. There's probably 20 judges that could end up with your case, 20 different judges. So, but it's going to be up to that person, up to that judge, man or woman, who's going to make the decision about whether you can leave. I know, just from a judge's point of view, I'm going to guess that in a lot of circumstances, they're not going to want you to leave right away. Right? Because you're going to be too far away. How are they going to investigate the case? How are they going to talk to those kids and, supervise them initially? But traveling to another state and going to live somewhere else, they call that the constitutional right of travel. And it's a huge constitutional right in this country. It's like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to travel. So before they can tell you you can't move initially or even in the future, that's something that you should be talking with your attorney about. All right.
And when they get their own attorneys, how does that work? Will the attorneys kind of push them so they can give them back to me, or do the attorneys sometimes fight for them not to come back to me?
Both. It depends on the attorney, the child's attorney.
Okay.
In my experience, I've come across some really family-oriented kids attorneys, and I've come across attorneys that I think that all they do is go with the social worker. So it just depends. It's like we were talking about before. There's good, there's bad, there's a lot in between. You just never know.
Right.
Right, and you don't even know what evidence they're going to present in front of the judge yet, because you haven't even seen what's called the detention package. Right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So you don't know what they're going to say. They might say, you're a convicted child molester, although that's probably not true. But you don't know what they're going to say.
No.
Right?
Yeah. I hear you.
Okay. Hey, Margarita, I want to thank you for calling and thank you for listening. In 3 or 4 weeks after you've been to court, call us and give us an update of what's happening in your case, okay? We're going to take a break right now for some more messages. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win.